Today, I'm going to be talking about unethical ways to make money. And you might ask, what is my credibility to speak on unethical ways to make money? Well, I have a TikTok account with 45,000 followers, and a lot of my videos went decently viral for talking about unethical ways to make money. And you're probably thinking, okay, this guy's probably trying to sell me something, but I'm not. I just think that there's actually value in studying unethical or even potentially illegal ways to make money. And the reason I think that is because even if you want to make a lot of money ethically or legally, it still makes sense to look at people who did it in unconventional, out-of-the-box ways, even when it was illegal or unethical. Because if you want to make money and you don't want to just get paid in a typical 9-to-5 job that solely relies on your presence and your time, then you're going to have to get really creative. And the reality is, if you're going to make money unethically or especially illegally, you have to get really creative with the ways in which you make money. And it's this exact creativity that will help you make money even if you do it the legal or ethical way. By studying the creative ways that people did it unethically or illegally, we can better understand how to actually make that money ethically or legally, because we will be more creative. Because if we want to make a lot of money and we want it to not rely directly on our time, we cannot go down the traditional route of find a job and make money, because we're trading our time for our money. We're never going to be able to get that back. And without any creativity, we're never going to be able to figure out how to do anything better than that. So that being said, I grouped these unethical ways to make money in a couple of different categories, so we'll go through them one by one. This is by no means complete, and I have some stuff to add on this, but we'll get to that later. So the first unethical way to make money is to create the problem and sell the solution. Now, the reason this is effective and potentially more effective than doing it the ethical way is because when you create the problem, you have way more control over who your customer market is. If you try to look in the market and try to find a problem, that's a lot harder than just creating the problem yourself, because then you have control over what the problem is. You can manipulate the market. So here's one that is illegal but was pretty funny when I first heard it. The idea is to basically go to a playground or a park where there's only one water fountain. So then all you're gonna do is destroy the water fountain or cut off the pipe a little bit so that the water fountain no longer works, and then come to that playground or park with a bunch of water bottles for sale and mark up the price like crazy. You could probably get away with selling your water bottles at like $7 a piece, and people are gonna do it because what else are they gonna do? Not buy water? But what's funny is you created the problem, which is you destroyed the water fountain, and now you're selling the solution. And another way to do this, and you can literally do this with zero starting capital, and it really wouldn't be a lot of work, is call up an institution like a church or a school or something and send in anonymous threats to that school. And then all you have to do is sell that school security, like security guards or fences or something along that nature. And you might say, okay, well, I'm not a security guard, so this won't work, but you could actually just do it on an affiliate basis. So you just go to a security guard, you say, hey, if I can find you a job, will you give me a portion of what you get paid? And he says, sure. And then put in the anonymous threat into the institution, tell that institution that they need more security and that you know someone who can help, and then make money when you get the security guard. You created the problem and you're selling the solution. And 3 was a TikTok I recorded recently, and it's basically the idea of selling graffiti removal services. So every time someone vandalizes a building with graffiti, you can use a pressure washer to get rid of it, but you're gonna actually be the one that's also vandalizing and putting graffiti on there at night when no one's watching. So you're creating the problem and selling the solution. Super unethical, but this method is indeed a method that can be used. Okay, so now on to the second category, and it was kind of hard to group these, so I just said not being transparent. So in any business altercation or deal, you can be transparent or you can be not transparent, and you get to choose how much transparency you want to have. And oftentimes by being less transparent, you can make a lot more money, and here are just a couple examples. So one is by not being really transparent about how easy it is to start a subscription and how hard it is to cancel it. There was actually a famous example of this where people who wanted to subscribe to like a magazine, they could just subscribe to it online and start their membership like that. But if they ever wanted to cancel it, they would have to go to the place in person during certain hours of the week to be able to cancel it. And this was quite controversial, but it created a lot of friction when they were trying to end their subscription. And the fact that they weren't open about this from the beginning, that if you wanted to cancel your subscription, you would have to go through this long step and meet them in person, was one of the things that helped them make more money, even though they were harming the consumer by taking money and not providing proportional value. The next is the idea of blinker fluid. So the idea here is you go to a car mechanic, he says, oh yeah, I'm gonna fix your car, oh, and you need all these other 10 repairs, and since you don't know anything about car repairs, you don't know how to say no to it, you think he's telling the truth, and so you just agree to do it and pay him for all the 10 repairs that he does. It turns out the 10 repairs that he does actually didn't do anything to your car, and he was just charging you extra money because he knew he could get away with it because he wasn't being transparent about what your car actually needed. And the third one is selling products that you got at a cheaper price, but never telling the consumer that they could have also got that thing for that cheaper price. So I actually did this to test if it worked, and it literally worked. What I did was I went on GitHub and I found a software that was literally free to use, like a literal free software. And then I went on TikTok and I tried selling people this software, and I got 2 people to actually buy this software from me, even though it was completely free on GitHub, and they could have found it with 1 Google search. But I was doing it as a test. I refunded them the money, but the point was I was able to make money off of them, off of something that I could have got or they could have got for free, but the fact that I was hiding where they could have got it made me more money, and not being transparent made me more money. It was super unethical, but it's a way to make money, so I'm keeping it in the video. And I'm not recommending you do this, but you literally could do this. Just look up any free digital product like a budgeting template or a Notion template or a software or anything like that for free, and then you can start selling that thing and people will be none the wiser as long as you don't tell them. And the last category is something called value arbitrage. And this is a lot more unclear whether this is ethical or unethical, but I think it's definitely worth covering because this is how you can make fortunes and do very little work in the middle. So the idea of value arbitrage is taking something that's already extremely valuable, editing it or modifying it or improving it a little bit, and then reselling that improved thing. What you're doing is you're basically leveraging all of the work that went into the initial thing, tweaking it a little bit, and that 1% improvement actually makes it 2 times better for the consumer, because that 1% improvement is what this thing was missing. And once you improve it just that tiny bit, you can sell it for a huge markup and people won't even understand. And the craziest example of this that I have ever seen is this app called Lensa. It trended on social media for a bit. It would basically let you create like these AI generated like cyberpunk type images of yourself. And they did something like 10 or 20 million in like the first month. It was crazy. Everyone was paying to get these AI pictures. But little did anyone know, the model that they used was literally called Stable Diffusion, and this was completely free. So they took this software that was completely free, they turned it into an app, which is just slightly easier to use than the actual Stable Diffusion model, and then sold this thing. So the added work that they did on top of Stable Diffusion was very, very little. Making the Stable Diffusion model was probably the hardest part in the whole thing, and then just adding that little extra thing that they did by making it into an app was significantly easier, but that slight added value to the already extremely valuable thing combined it and made it a product that made them 10 to 20 million in literally like a month. And it's debatable, honestly, whether or not that is ethical, but I'll leave that up to you. It might not be ethical, but it's definitely creative, and understanding creative things like that will help you not do a basic 9-to-5 job. It will help you think, how can I take something that's already working and modify it and use it to profit? Anyways, those are just some unethical ways to make money. I'm sure I'll be doing another one of these soon. And if you want to learn unethical and ethical ways to make money, you can find it in my free newsletter. Trust me, there's a reason 2,000 people have already joined it. Peace.